Hello, everybody. Welcome to Make It Monday. I'm Jim with Amy Sews, and today is a special Make It Monday by request. And that's again where we had a viewer like yourself message us that they had a question about a sewing technique, and today we're going to address that one and tell how to do a really good French seam on a regular straight stitch sewing machine. So, that being said, I'm going to take you over to the overhead and we can just discuss how to easily make a simple French seam. So right now you can see this is like a traditional seam. I have two different colors of fabric just so it shows up a little better on camera. And this was done with a 5/8 inch seam allowance, which is a standard seam allowance. And I'm going to convert this now into a French seam technique. The only difference is when you start it normally, you would go ahead and sew it with a 5/8 inch seam. As you can see here, I have the different color thread, just shows up a little bit better on camera. And I'm measuring from the raw edge over 5/8 and sewed it with the right sides together. Well, when you do a French seam, you're going to do just the opposite. You're going to start with the wrong sides are going to be put together, and you're going to sew the seam on the right side or the outside of your garment. And I'm going to use a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. And one way to help ensure that I get a good seam allowance is I'm going to use an edge guide foot. And this is a foot that kind of looks like that. And basically, as you see on the side here, there is a little rudder that's attached that extends out, and it's a little flexible. And that's going to ride along the bed of the sewing machine, where the throat plate is. And it'll glide right along the edge of the fabric so that when the needle sews in, it'll be like a scant 1/4 inch away. Um, Usually when you first pop it on, the needle will be in like the center position. And I just use my width control to move my needle over. So I got a scant 1/4 of an inch. You want a decent amount that the fabric doesn't get drawn into the throat plate, but enough width that you're not using up too much of the fabric, because we got to do a little trick next. So after I sew it with a scant 1/4 inch, I will then take my shears and I'll trim it off a little bit. So it's a little under that 1/4 of an inch. I just like to have a little bit more room there, because what I need to do next is I'm going to have to take that and once I have it trimmed, I'm going to take it to the ironing board. And you can see here I had trimmed this one, and I'm going to fold them over with the right sides together and get a good firm press. So as you can see here, this is the wrong side of my fabric. Here's the right side or the outside of my garment. And I have all that completely pressed in place, giving me a nice crisp seam. I'll then go back and take my edge guide foot again. And this time I'll pop it back over to that center needle position, which will give me about a good 1/4 of an inch or a little over. I try to keep it under a 1/4, because when you think about it, the thickness of the thread is going to actually add to the width of your seam slightly. So I kind of keep it around a good 1/4 of an inch. And you can see here on this one, I already have it seamed together. See the stitching line right here, doing a 1/4 of an inch. Once I have that done, I'll open it and press it to either side, whether I want it to the red or the black side in this case. And you can just see from the right side of it, it looks pretty much like I did with my first seam. They look identical, except when you turn them over, you can see that I have my 5/8 of an inch seam allowance exposed with raw edges. And when I turn this one over, I have that now 1/4 of an inch seam allowance exposed on this side. But all the raw edges are encased in a fabric casing. So basically, this is going to not only give more life to the garment by having all the raw edges securely secured inside that width of seam, it'll also give it more life and longevity, because it's going to be less chance of it raveling. And it's a nice, in a way too, it's a little safety stitch, because if by chance these stitches should pop, you do have that seam that's holding the cut edges together. So it's kind of like a little safety stitch too, but it just makes the garment look really nice and professional on the inside. And quite to be honest with you, even though I love my serger and I do a lot of things with the serger, when I make a dress shirt or any kind of uh, fitted garment like that, I quite often revert to basically doing a good French seam, because I think it makes the inside of the garment look as nice as the outside also. And by having an extra line of stitching, it does give it a little more support, almost like it's like a dress shirt that has some darts in it, or maybe like extended seam. It almost like it put like a lightweight boning into it by giving it a little more body with that stitching. And I noticed a lot of the dress shirts seem to hold up better with that extra little bit of weight of fabric in it, as opposed to when you're trimming it all off using your serger, you don't have that same kind of support. And while serger sewing is great and phenomenal, when I'm doing something like, again, like with the dress shirt, I do like to do it with the French seam. If it's more active or occasional, then I use that for my serger, because we think too that the thread does add a little bit of bulk to it, and it doesn't have, sometimes it doesn't give the same drape or effect that a good French seam will do. But again, this is all personal preference too. So basically, whatever you like to do. If you like to do a French seam, easiest way I have to do it for you. And hopefully that helps you with that question that my viewer had about how to do a French seam. And if you have any questions of a technique, or would just like to see us talk about the sewing and crafting, whatever scan and cut project, feel free to message us at Amy Sews. And you may have a topic for you there that you can watch and view. And while you're out there at our website of Amy Buckman Sewing Quote or amysews.com, be sure to check out our subscription boxes. We have a monthly subscription box on sergers and one on scan and cut. So we have a lot of great projects with that. And also we have our monthly tea towel of the month with Sharon. You can see the pineapple one behind me there. And we have a lot of other things to offer too at our website. So be sure to stop by there and check us out. And if you're local in the Pittsburgh area, you may want to stop by our store, Amy Buckman Sewing Quilt, in lovely Harmony, Pennsylvania. We'd love to see you. And if you like the technique, be sure to follow me as I travel with the original Sewing Quilt Expo. Just go to sewingexpo.com, because the classes are already starting to be posted, and you want to be sure to sign up before they're all sold out. So that being said, thank you for watching. Really appreciate your support. Be sure to share the knowledge and the love of sewing that we have out there for you. And that being said, remember, the more you know, the more you sew. Take care. Have a